Farrell, and I'm joined by my colleague David Rue, and we'll be joined shortly by our colleague Curran Price. What I'd like to do before we begin the regular items is just have all public comment up front, so we're going to start with that. And we have some more cards, I think, that are going to be handed in. If you have filled out a card for general public comment and comment on any of the items, you'll be given 3 minutes in total, 1 for public comment and 2 minutes for all your items. And we have, I think, 2 individuals who fit into that category. So we'll start with Herman, on Armando Herman. Please step forward. And you have 1 minute for general public comment and 2 minutes for all of your other comments on all the items.
So I'll do general public comment first. Thank you. Just like we brought out earlier, that it's a real goddamn shame that you have these committees and people are unavailable to show up for these committees. You know, I don't know what's going on with Bonin. I'm kind of concerned for his health. I'm not sure if he's on rehab or going through one of those mental health drug evaluations, but he should stop that shit. Crack is a horrible way to die. It's a horrible disease. And, you know, I worked with people with AIDS when I was back in my days as a health nurse, and it's a fucking shame to see people die from AIDS. I just can't believe they take it up the ass that way. And sometimes it's not just up the ass they take it. Sometimes they have to, you know, inject themselves, and I'm very concerned about Bonin. And anyone who deals with the hepatitis A crisis that we're having in Los Angeles, stay away from L.A., stay away from L.A. We got hepatitis A, hepatitis A. Now let's go into the agendized item. Regarding kids, steering committee, boys and girls, club of the Los Angeles Harbor, Wilmington, that's Joe Busciano. But guess what, Joe Busciano? You were part of LAPD one time. Stop fucking kids, cadets. And then I go to item number 2. Again, kids, what? Steering committees, payback terms, and amending grant agreements on various competitive programs. The only thing competitive is don't fuck kids. And I go into item number 3. Department of Recs and Parks, what? Environmental educational facilities. Well, that's what that fat woman spoke about earlier, who they forgot to call. What's her name? Goldberg? Cheeseburg? Jackie Cheeseburg Goldberg. Yeah, dumb bitch. And then let's go into item number 4 now, CD 13. Department of Cultural Affairs report relative to the annual report providing update of Holly Hook House funds. Well, let's rename that Holly Ass Hook Horse fines on October 2015 through December. And then my closing 5 and 6 item, fuck Jose Weezer, the fat bald fuck, relative to changing the hours of operation at Ross Valencia Pocket Park. Then item 8 regarding Mr. Little Armenian Gateway Public Art Project. If you bring art, whoever has the best goat picture, I'll guarantee you a 101 trip on the freeway exit of Hollywood Boulevard in Van Ness Street. We are going to display your art on graffiti murals as we've done in the past. For all graffiti art is now considered art. It should remain art, and we should have no public eyesores of other chinchorro put by the city of Los Angeles.
Before I bring up my next speaker, I just want to let the self-respecting individuals in the audience know that this is the First Amendment in action. They can be as offensive, racist, ignorant, you name it, sophomoric as they want to be, and that's their right. And so we just kind of have to sit through it several times a day, as well as you. And it is very corrosive to the public good, and it's also very corrosive to people actually wanting to show up at meetings and give constructive comment to issues of the day, but we're kind of stuck with it. So let me apologize on their behalf since they don't have the character to do that themselves. Having said that, our next speaker, who and I'm being interrupted the whole time by Wayne Spindler, the whole time I'm speaking. Okay, you have 1 minute for general public comment and 2 minutes for all of your other comments.
Yes, we apologize. We apologize for having a councilman who sexually assaults a bitch who works in his office, Jose Weezer. We apologize for another councilman, Mitchell Englander, sexual abuse and got the city to pay for that shit. We apologize for the DUI of Jose Huizar. We apologize for Gil Cedillo's lead staffer and his DUI. We apologize also for Herb Wetson's son and his DUI while in company time. We apologize for Mike Bonin for being a drug addict, insane, and closing all of the lanes in traffic and fucking up our traffic so it takes us 6 hours extra a week on the freeway to fucking drive home and have a hamburger at In-N-Out. That's what the hamburger is all about, not this shit like you eat at these expensive restaurants on
You have 2 minutes for the
Sunset.
items. You have 2 minutes for the items.
Okay. Item 1, CD15. Steering club. We don't need a fucking steering club. What we need is the kids to go out and play with a stick and a ball. That's what I used to do. That's what Mr. Herman used to do. That's what Rue used to do in Korea. When he used to eat dog meat every day, he walked with a stick and a fucking ball and played with his kids in Korea. Why do these fucking kids in San Pedro get more rights than our shit? I don't like this. No one won. Number 2, fuck Proposition K. Refund for all taxpayers for the waste of gobbledygook money. No good. Number 3, outdoor environmental marine aquarium themed. Just do what I do. Just fill up a bathtub and put a small shark in it, stick your fucking hand on, and you have a marine aquarium for about $17. These motherfuckers will spend millions of dollars to put a shark in a tank. Go to the Mandalay Bay for $14 and you'll see all kinds of sharks. Here for free, the city council has many sharks. No charge for admission, yes. And then the pocket park, Jose Huizar. Fuck this. We don't want any pocket park. Take the pocket park, stick it in your pocket up your ass. And then finally, the Little Armenian Gateway. There is no Armenian genocide. It's bullshit. Long live Turkey. Fuck Krikorian the goat.
All right, we've been joined by our colleague Curran Price, and that's your last warning, Mr. Spindler. You've interrupted before your comments. You've been interrupting the meeting since. That's it. One more, and you're out. All right, so Ms. Talala, please step forward. I'm so sorry you had to hear all of that because you're a very decent, kind lady with manners, and I'm sorry you had to sit through all that.
I apologize.
No.
Have been so patient.
Thank you. So,
Good
please.
afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you and members of the community. I'm here as a private individual. I wear other hats, but I'm here representing myself as a senior advocate and an Echo Park community activist. The community, 2 years ago, I had an informal survey, and they basically prioritized parks and libraries as their top interest. They considered them cultural icons. And it was disturbing last night to hear people wanting at the neighborhood council thinking that these two institutions should open their doors to the homeless and have their toilets and used. And I really think that we need to respect these institutions. And if I have 30 seconds
I
more.
can't, Ms. Talala, because
Okay.
then I'd have to make it. But Star Parsemian on my team will sit with you to sort of so you can feature your comments with her,
Yeah.
and we can
Thank
take up your concerns that way.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you.
For the time.
Thank you. Okay. Now Mr. Herman has just interrupted, so one more and you're out of here too. Thank you. All right. So with that, colleagues, what I'd like to do is close public comment. So all public comment is now closed. And if there are no objections, I'd like to take items 1, 2, and 3 on consent. 1, 2, and 3 on consent. So moved. That is exactly what we will do. So what that does is I'd like to go with item 5. Mr. Sutton-Willis, if you could please read item number 5.
Item number 5, motion Weezar O'Farrell relative to changing the hours of operation at Ross Valencia Pocket Park, located at the intersection of East 1st Street and Chicago Street in Boyle Heights, to open at sunrise and close at sunset.
All right, so what we have is a request for an amendment from our colleague, Mr. Huizar, to remove 7 days a week from the last moving clause. And it's just a technical correction, thus stated. So without objection and a second from Mr. Wu, we will approve the motion as amended, and that takes care of item 5. Let's move on to item 4. Mr. Sutton-Willis.
Item number 4, Department of Cultural Affairs report relative to an annual report providing an update of Hollyhock House funds, reflecting revenues and expenditures from October 2015 through December 2016.
Thank you. We have Daniel Tarica with the Department of Cultural Affairs and Jeffrey Herr of the Hollyhock House and Grounds. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to ask Jeffrey to start off.
All right.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here for a number of reasons, but most of all to say that Hollyhock House is really coming along very, very well, and that is thanks to the ordinance that permitted the touring fees, the ticket sales, to come back to the house. What we have done over the past year, and I should say that this is the first report of an annual succession of reports, is to look at some of the greatest needs. These are needs that fall under maintenance, in years past, always deferred maintenance, and also in upgrades that are essential to the operation of the house. In terms of deferred maintenance, things like refinishing hardwood floors, even though they were done during the restoration, 30,000 feet, even in shoe covers, have a deteriorating effect on that finish. I would also say that there are other aspects that we can get into if you like, but there are a lot of details that are essential to the house, and Frank Lloyd Wright is about details, so that's important. One of the other things that is really interesting and comes about in an atmosphere of climate change is that Hollyhock House, of course, never had air conditioning. And we have had to institute a heat stress policy that closes the house every time the temperature exceeds 90 degrees inside. And over the last holiday weekend, we were obliged to be closed 4 days in a row. I'm happy to say that the air conditioning is almost ready to be turned on. So these kinds of things are the way we are using the ticket revenues to not only maintain but improve this National Historic Landmark and also UNESCO nominated site.
Wonderful. And before we hear from Mr. Tarica, just the purpose of that change in terms of where the income, the revenue from the ticket sales to be reinvested right back into the upkeep of the house is, after we reopened Hollyhock House in 2015, after a multi-million-dollar, years-long restoration, we were left with really, I would call it an unfunded mandate for the future upkeep of the house. And so that's why we're here today, to hear about the need for establishing that permanent revenue source, so that we don't have to go another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years for deferred maintenance. We can just do the upkeep as the house undergoes these stresses from all of these visits. So I appreciate your attention to detail and your dedication to the preservation of Hollyhock House. It's been and is essential for sure. So thank you. All right, Mr. Tarica.
Thank you. So we have had over the last year In 2016, we had about 20,000 visitors. And then for the first half of 2017, we've had 12,339 visitors. So we're on track to exceed our numbers from 2016. And then the revenue that we received for 2016 was $107,000. And when that's combined with our revenue that we received for the part of 2015 that we were open, it was $120,000. So we're happy to answer any questions that you might
Terrific. So we have a request to increase the entrance fee. And can you tell us a little bit about that? I know that it's comparative to other museums or cultural institutions. We charge a very, very low fee. So can you kind of elaborate a little bit on the rationale for increasing the fee?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've been doing a series of benchmarking studies within the department to look at other comparable facilities and are looking at increasing the fees. We're currently in the process of working on the report that we're going to work with CAO and city attorney that will be coming back to you to increase the fees.
Terrific. And do we have any sense, and this is probably a premature question actually, but do we have any sense of the cost of annual upkeep and maintenance? Maybe that won't come into view for a few more years. But
I think that it is a bit premature to try to estimate that. We're, in spite of all of the Herculean efforts that have gone into the restoration and into the...
put it lightly. Right.
Yeah, exactly. We're still playing catch up in many instances. And so those costs are going to be sort of one-time costs. The maintenance of them will be much lower. And we're not able to come up with I'd say a figure that has any real integrity yet.
Okay. And back to you, Mr. Trika. So when might that request for the increase of fees come to council?
We anticipate submitting it to the CAO sometime in the next few weeks.
Okay.
And then through the process, CAO and city attorney will go through upon their review and drafting of the ordinance.
Could happen before the end of the calendar year. Could happen.
That would be the hope.
Yeah. Okay. Terrific. What's the marketing outreach plan to drive ticket sales?
There are several avenues. Number one, we are in the very final stages of going to an online ticketing service, so that we will have a global and 24/7 access to purchasing tickets. At the moment, you can only purchase them on site, and so it doesn't drive the tourist there the way the online ticketing service will. We also have engaged through both the Department of Cultural Affairs and through the Barnsdall Art Park Foundation, a PR service that does a very good job of keeping the Hollyhock House name in the various news media, whether it's print, online, or the audio and video services. So we have those two particular aspects that we think will combined give us an ever-increasing audience base.
And when might the online sales go live? Do we need to consult with a third party to do that, or?
The contract has been signed.
Okay.
And so it's now in the implementation process. Barnsdall Park doesn't have Wi-Fi yet, and that turns to be a stumbling block for online ticket sales.
Interesting. We'll have to change that.
Well, it's coming.
Okay.
And it's just that the timing is a little off as far as implementing the online ticket sales. But that should be happening. I think our sort of anticipated go-live date is November 1st.
And, okay, great. And so the Hollyhock House is a UNESCO World Heritage Site nominated location. So what other Los Angeles sites have been nominated for this incredible designation?
There are none.
That's it. This is it.
This is it.
For Los Angeles.
Yes. I might also add that to even be considered for a UNESCO nomination, The site, and in this case, it's a series of Frank Lloyd Wright sites, has to have something called outstanding universal value as defined by the World Heritage Council of UNESCO. And that's a very high bar. I am not sure that there are other sites within the city of Los Angeles that actually could meet that bar, as important as many are and as valuable as many of them are.
Right.
It's a pretty high bar, and we struggled to meet it.
It'd sure be nice to have our feather in our cap to have a World Heritage Site in Los Angeles.
It would be like a Las Vegas headdress.
Right, more like it. Okay, there you go. That we can all imagine. So, what's the anticipated time frame for them to come back and do an evaluation to qualify?
The anticipated time frame is 2019. You'll probably recall that the nomination was put forward to the World Heritage Council in Istanbul, Turkey, in last year. And we were asked to review our outstanding universal value criteria and speak more directly to it from their point of view. We have been working on that with the International Committee on Sites and Monuments, which is the body that they use to evaluate the nominations and make recommendations, and that has proved to be an interesting challenge, and the National Park Service just recently decided to postpone sending that nomination through in 2018 to 2019, which is the end of our 3-year referral from the World Heritage Council.
Okay, so that is their plan to
That is
submit
their
then.
plan.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you. Colleagues, any questions about Hollyhock House and where we are with keeping it spectacular? All right, thank you. So what I'm going to recommend is we note and file the DCA report and keep moving things forward at Barnsdall Park. Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, by the way, for the fact that we are able to do all of this. Your office has been very cooperative and in making sure that our requests are facilitated.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I know Christine Peters is here in my office, and we've got Star, and we've got David, and we're all in because, there's only one Frank Lloyd Wright, and his legacy has to be valued, especially with what you just said about the World Heritage Site possibility. It's very exciting. So thanks for your great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. So without objections, we will note and file the DCA report. Shall be the order. And that brings us to item number 6.
Item number 6, a motion O'Farrell-Krikorian and resolution relative to accepting responsibility for the maintenance and repair of the Little Armenia Gateway Public Art Project located on a parcel adjacent to the 101 freeway exit on Hollywood Boulevard at Van Ness Street, and authorizing the council member of the 13th District to execute documents with the state of California.
Thank you. And let's wait just a moment till the noise and the disturbance in the hallway clears completely out of here, Ms. Feiler. My apologies. There we go. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, committee members. Felicia Feiler, Director of Public Art for the Department of Cultural Affairs. Our office has been working with CD13 for the past 2 years to develop, design, implement, and fabricate a Armenia Gateway project. The parcel of land that has been identified is owned by Caltrans, and we've been working with Caltrans for the past 2 years as well to just get permission to use the site. As part of Caltrans' encroachment permit, they require the city to introduce a motion that stipulates the city will be required to maintain the artwork on their property for a period of time. And so this motion basically is asking for the city to grant us that permission to maintain the work. We have not identified the actual maintenance partner yet. There is an effort underway to establish a bid group along the boulevard, and the idea is that bid group would be a project that the bid group would take responsibility for maintaining. So at this point we are at the beginning stages of the process, and obviously once the monument is built, the artisans will be required to develop a maintenance manual, which will specify exactly what the maintenance requirements are for the piece. The materials that they're using right now are stone, concrete, ceramics, so these are very durable materials that are typical in an outdoor environment, so they should hold up very well. And the period of time that we are specifying here for 25 years is consistent with the length of time that we use in the commissioning of public art projects on city property. So if there's any questions about what our next steps would be, I'm happy to answer them.
Terrific. Thank you. And colleagues, this is, it's in the 13th District. It's as you exit the 101 North on Hollywood Boulevard. If you look to the right, there's more often than not some form of blight that you see right when you come into Hollywood. So this would be a way to celebrate your entry into Hollywood with this cultural gateway, since it is also the gateway to Little Armenia. So we're very excited about this project, and thank you for your great work on this, Felicia. Really appreciate it. Now, who's drafting the agreement between the DCA and Caltrans? And do we need the involvement of the city attorney's office, or maybe that's already happening?
We have not started the agreement. Okay. So this is, we will work with the city attorney's office to draft the agreement. When we can just get some examples from Caltrans in terms of what the agreement would look like, and then we can, the city attorney can weigh in on what the city needs to protect its interests.
Okay. And then what's the time frame for construction to begin?
We are scheduled to begin construction first of the year. So it'll take Caltrans roughly 30 to 60 days to review our application packet. We should be ready to send everything to Caltrans by mid-October. Gives them 60 days to review it, and then we can get our right of entry permit to begin work in first of the year. But obviously the monument has to be fabricated, so we won't actually be installing and actually entering their property until the summer of 2018.
I see. And so we want to get that draft agreement in place as soon as possible. I would imagine there's a template that already exists in the city attorney's office. I know we can't define exactly what that is right now, but I'm hoping that that won't be something that could possibly delay.
Sure. Yeah, I think just to the chairman's point, it might a slight change to the moving clause to mirror also what the Department of Cultural Affairs says. So after authorize the council member 13th district to add in and the Department of Cultural Affairs to execute, and then with the assistance of the city attorney.
Yeah, happy to do that. Yeah. That way we'll get that going. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And then lastly, estimated cost. Has the artist given you or given us a sense of what the maintenance costs will be moving forward? You said it's durable, so.
Yes, they haven't given us a sense of the cost, but they will give us a maintenance plan in terms of what the materials are, how to maintain them, whether to reapply anti-graffiti coating, how to remove, scratches or etching or something to that nature. But what we can do while we are still early in the process is to ask them to sort of give us an estimated annual maintenance cost as part of their plan. So that's something that we can build into their contract deliverable to us.
Terrific. All right. Well, this is pretty straightforward, and this has been a project in the making for 2 years now. So the heavy lifting has kind of been done. So the last piece is getting that draft agreement in place so that we can then move forward and see some construction there in the summer of 2018.
That's correct.
Yeah. Good colleagues. Any questions? Or no? Okay. All right. So what we'll do is we'll adopt the motion, but amend the motion to include the CAE to work with the City Attorney's Office to work with the Department of Cultural Affairs to draft the agreement.
Thank you so much.
All right, without objection, that shall be the order. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And Mr. Sutton-Willis, are there any other items?
That is it, sir.
No other comments, no other items? Thank you so much. This meeting is adjourned.